evening, everybody, and thank you so much for having me. I'm Catherine D'Amato, and it's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you your awardee. You know, it's a distinct honor for me to be here, and because of who Scott is, and I hope to just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about what I think about him. We're supposed to laugh, but in the most honest way. So seriously, you know, how do I introduce someone you already know and respect? How do I share in just a few words the grace and integrity Scott lives every day as a person and as a state planning professional? How do I affirm how special he is to each of you? How he knows you, how he has helped you, how he cares about you, and how he loves you? How do I help you understand the pride he shares of who he is and what he does? And how do I communicate significant and lasting impact he has made to ensure legal rights and services to the LGBT community? How do I share the importance of his leadership to guarantee the legal rights to marry for families seeking equal protection under the law? How do I quantify the significant philanthropic resources encouraged, entrusted, and secured for numbers of charities? In just a few words, how do I define this very accomplished and gracious human being who embodies excellence in his profession and in his life? I don't have to. Your decision to honor him this evening has done just that. Scott knows and values the law, and he does so consistently guided by our moral compass. He's loyal to family and friends. He is a leader. He is honorable. His work with organizations such as Fenway Community Health, Massachusetts Marriage Equality, and the Boston Foundation has secured millions in philanthropic resources to protect our rights to health care, marriage, housing, employment, and future issues yet to be defined. So let me tell you a small story. To the best of my knowledge, I was the first openly gay person to serve as a board member of the Boston Foundation. And when I got there, I'll be completely disclosure, I wanted to set up a fund called the Equality Fund. And a friend of ours that knew Scott as well knew he wanted to do the same thing. So he introduced us. And we learned that we quickly shared this very important interest, this desire to create a permanent fund for our community, no matter what the issue was or what the future would bring. And from that very first meeting, we became friends. We aligned our shared passion to engage the foundation and members of our community, and after years of work, that intention was actualized. That fund, the Equality Fund, was born. And this fund is there today and under the guides of the Boston Foundation to serve generations to come. Now, there wouldn't be an Equality Fund without Scott Squillace. There wouldn't be lots of things without Scott Squillace's involvement. And he now proudly serves on the board, as Kate noted, where he is very pragmatic and has a robust knowledge. He connects people to people, leaders to organizations, assets to charity. He has worked to destroy myths and to secure opportunities. He has worked to protect human rights, protect families, and to protect assets. He manifests excellence by living the essence of his profession, by keeping duty and care foremost in his mind. When you work with Scott, you get all of him. He brings his whole self. He clearly listens to hear what you value and to understand what matters to you, and then to actualize that value, to impart your intention, a legacy to benefit your family and your community. And as a lawyer, he does what his profession trusts he will do, to understand what you value most, and then to guide you through the law to achieve it. In simple words, this is excellence. I'm very proud to call Scott my friend, and I know you are all proud to call him your colleague. So now, please welcome your 2020 Boston Estate and Planning Council Excellence Award recipient, my friend, Scott E. Squillace.
Thank you, Catherine, for that thoughtful and generous introduction. And thank you, BEPC, for this honor. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my friend Catherine D'Amato, who is the CEO of the Greater Boston Food Bank for some 20 years. For Catherine, feeding the hungry has always been about providing healthy food and doing it in a way that preserves personal dignity. She and her able team did not miss a beat during this historically challenging time. The pandemic caused a demand of over 100% increase in the need for food assistance that wound up serving nearly 9% of the Commonwealth's total population. They served over 600,000 people a month over this past year, and for that, please join me in thanking Catherine and her team for this Herculean effort. It is truly humbling to be recognized by my peers, and I'm grateful. I'm particularly grateful we're all able to be here together in person after a tumultuous year plus. And I'll refrain from editorializing too much on the unique challenges of the pandemic, other than to say it's been quite a year, and it's so great to see everyone here together in 3D as opposed to via Zoom. For those not able to make it tonight, I totally understand. And I want to thank the BEPC leadership, who more than once had to pivot to make this event occur, and other program events for BEPC. So thank you guys. As I thought about what I might share tonight, I found myself reflecting on my career and uncovered a couple of themes that I thought would be relevant to the work we do together. Allow me to share them with you in the form of two stories. The first one starts in the early 90s when my career found me jetting literally around the world. As a corporate associate at Skadden Arps, my first international assignments found me in Mexico and New Zealand, and I was soon asked to move to Europe to help open their Paris and Moscow offices, with a short stint in Hong Kong afterwards. Sounds sexy, right? But here's the truth. Moving to Europe was less about pursuing an international legal career and more about my personal desire to come out and be out as a gay man and a lawyer. You see, at the time, I had gone from being very closeted during high school and college to testing being out discreetly during law school. Skadden was a welcoming and fairly liberal New York-based firm, but I was still not out to my very traditional Catholic parents and family, nor many of my closest friends. I had heard stories from close gay friends in the 80s about being disowned by their families. The fear of rejection was profound. I had also heard stories about being discriminated at work for promotions or certain client assignments, none of which seemed worth the risk. So instead of facing those fears, I hightailed it overseas, where almost no one knew me and certainly weren't going to share my secret with my family. It was liberating and refreshing. For the first time ever, I felt able to be myself around my colleagues and new friends. After my successful stint overseas, the next logical move would have been to return to New York to try to make partner, something that never appealed to me. Plus, I had only been in Europe for a couple of years and really wanted to stay. So I realized my first dream in life and became a client. I was recruited by Levi Strauss & Company to be their chief legal officer for their European division based in Brussels. It was during that process in 1993, when Levi's was particularly focused on a diversity in the workforce effort, that I learned that being gay and out can sometimes be a plus. I was in fact hired in part because of that diversity effort. Talk about a revelation. That privately held San Francisco-based company was committed to helping all employees be their whole selves at work, and including people at all levels of the organization who might historically have been excluded. It was a liberating time and helped me to get over the hurdle of finally coming out first to my siblings and then to my parents, all of whom could not have been more supportive, notwithstanding my fears. So after the coming out milestone with my family, I thought I was home free as a professional gay man. Boy, was I wrong. At Levi Strauss, my responsibilities included managing the legal affairs for a $3 billion operating division across Eastern, Western, Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Every time I would travel to one of the local affiliates to meet with local council and senior leadership, I had to decide just how out I was going to be. These trips often included dinner by local country manager or senior partner from the local law firm, during which they would inevitably and innocently inquire what my wife did and whether we had kids. I had only seconds to decide how out I wanted to be for that evening. I was pretty sure, for example, that the general manager in Italy would be nonplussed, but I wasn't so sure about our outside counsel in Istanbul. It was then that I realized that all of us in the LGBT community, and I see some of my friends here tonight, never stop coming out. Every time we meet a new person who doesn't already know our status, we have to instantly decide whether to share and evaluate the consequences. Indeed, this was a choice I made tonight. So as I reflect on the work that we do with individuals and families, my coming out experience reminds me that you never know what's below the surface or happening behind the scenes. For example, how many times do we wind up hearing, sometimes when it's too late, about the substance use disorder or mental health issue in a family, or infidelities that could lead to the surprise heirs? We are all different, and the human condition is sometimes messy. Not everyone has a spouse and kids for whom they are planning. I would suggest we not assume anything when working with our clients and listen as much as possible. It's a more purposeful way to engage. So what I hope you take away from this story is to please be compassionate and inclusive, think about our differences, and be prepared to do more listening than talking as we work together and with our clients. Expect the unexpected. And since I'm on the topic, please indulge me for a brief sidebar to reflect on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI as we've come to know the term. There's a lot of talk these days about DEI, both here within BEPC and in our broader community. It seems a given that we should all pursue DEI, but why does it matter? I would suggest there are 3 reasons. First, we seek to include people who are historically excluded from processes or positions in order to have a more robust perspective and hopefully better dialogue so that decisions can be more inclusive. Second, we are at times trying to right a historical wrong. And third, we must become more agile and responsive to a broader client base and changing workforce demographics. Not too long ago for BEPC, that meant including more women in the organization and in its leadership role. While I think we've been fairly successful at that effort, I find it notable that it wasn't until 1995 that my friend Mary Schmidt was the first woman to ever receive this award. Mary Schmidt. Some 65 years after BEPC was founded in 1930. And in 2020, I was the first openly gay professional to receive it. I point this out not to scold anyone, but rather as a gentle reminder that there is still considerable work to be done around DEI. And this broadly includes race, gender, sexual orientation, and other classes of people who have historically been discriminated against and continue to be excluded. I know we can't fix everything all at once, but we have to do what we can by taking baby steps. Controlling that which we control, such as hiring or promotion, choice of work assignments, committee appointments, award selections, election to leadership, are great places to start. Tonight, I would just ask you all to think about what you control and how you can be inclusive. As someone who's been on the outside, trust me, every little bit helps. Many of you know I'm passionate about this practice and continuous improvement for our clients and ourselves. So in that spirit, my final story is one I hope we will write together. It's about collaboration and being more effective in the work we do. Today, technical competence is merely the price of entry into our business. Whether you're a lawyer, wealth manager, life insurance professional, CPA, or other planning professional. But we all know our work is about much more. Clients want a deeper connection with their advisors. They want us to understand their goals and intricate family dynamics. and to be less about pushing products and more about providing a holistic service. In fact, as many of our business offerings see pressure from online tools attempting to commoditize what we do, we need to get ahead of the curve and figure out how we can offer serious value add to our clients. One important way to do this is to be better at collaboration. This means being more open to input from one another and less territorial, valuing input at every level of an organization, and developing better skills to learn how to give and receive feedback among ourselves. I'd like to suggest to all of you here tonight and throughout BEPC that it's no longer sufficient to master the networking thing. Instead of constantly suggesting we grab a coffee as a way to connect, or a Zoom cocktail these days, we need to figure out when we work together how to deepen our understanding of what's going well and what needs improvement. When I worked at Levi's and later at Cabot Corporation here in Boston, both well-run global businesses, they insisted on a 360-degree feedback loop to ensure better communication and constant improvement in work relationships and outcomes. But here in the advisory world, I've noticed a marked difference. Frankly, it's still rather traditional, hierarchical, and all about who's the quarterback for the relationship. While this is sometimes effective, I'd like to suggest that the model is stale and needs to be invigorated. Now, at the risk of stepping outside of my personal comfort zone by using a sports metaphor, how about we reorient from the American football analogy of the quarterback running all the plays to a European football one where the ball is constantly passed to other members of the team as it's moved forward to the goal. The traditional models out there, particularly when one strong profession tries to call the shots, and yes, now I'm talking to the lawyers, my lawyer colleagues in the room, is not a model that will be successful in the future. The lawyers are taught in law school to be good advocates, and indeed we are often rewarded in law school and in private practice for a style that is essentially a bullying one. What if we remain open to creative problem-solving ideas from everyone on the team? As we work on client engagements together, let's start doing a better job of checking in with each other during and after our engagements. How about asking, how do you think the meeting went? What could I have done differently to be more effective? How can I be more helpful to you? Clients will demand this, and they deserve it, and those of us who do it well will have a competitive advantage. So tonight I've shared two themes I believe can serve our clients well and create fulfilling careers: be compassionate and inclusive, and be collaborative. Let me end simply by stating what a privilege it is to do this work and to be honored by you. When we base our relationships on compassion, integrity, and trust, it should come as no surprise that many of our clients we meet as strangers sometimes become friends. So to my clients and friends inside this room and out who have trusted me with your estate plans, I say thank you. To my fellow collaboratives with whom I've worked in this room, thank you for your efforts and thank you for helping make me look good. And to those in this room with whom I've not worked, I welcome the opportunity. To my incredible team, who every day takes good care of our clients, each other, and me in ways large and small, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Almost done. To my family, who always helped me discern right from wrong and didn't flinch when I came out to them, but instead rallied around me to express unconditional love, I say thank you. And last but certainly not least, to my true love, my husband, Chris Gayton, who helps me be grounded and is totally supportive of this work I do, I say thank you and I love you. Thank you all for this honor, and good night.